Nelson. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from Rome. Pope Francis celebrated Earth Day by speaking at a 4-day event sponsored by the Focolare movement and Earth Day Italy. His visit was a surprise to the more than 3,000 attendees gathered in Rome's Villa Borghese Park. The Pope told those gathered that the only way to understand the world's problems and feel compassion is to get close to those in need. He gave those in attendance an assignment, asking them to notice people's faces as they walk down the street. He said some people will look withdrawn or worried because they lack friendship. The Pope said the remedy for this requires generosity, respect, and courage to come together, to work out problems, and to forgive, no matter what people's background or religion is. We all have something in common, he said. We are all human. In news from the Vatican, it was a weekend for teenagers at the Vatican this past weekend. Youth from around the world went to Rome for a special Year of Mercy event for teens aged 13 to 16. Events began April 23rd with confessions in St. Peter's Square. Pope Francis joined more than 150 priests offering the sacrament. Vatican spokesman Father Federico Lombardi said the Pope spent more than an hour listening to confessions in the square. Later in the evening, an estimated 70,000 youth gathered for music and testimonies at Rome's Olympic Stadium. On April 24th in St. Peter's Square, the Pope celebrated a Mass for an estimated 100,000 young teens and pilgrims. In his homily, the Pope encouraged the youth to carry out the enormous responsibility entrusted to the disciples by Jesus in the Sunday Gospel reading. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. Catholic News Service spoke with members of the Sullivan family from North Carolina who traveled to Rome on spring break for this special Jubilee weekend.
We had spring break this week, so we came to the Jubilee. We make our confirmation like 2 weeks when we get home, so it's definitely great to see like the history of the church and other people who are Catholic too, because where we live it's not as big of a following. So coming here, it was definitely interesting to see a lot of other youth who were involved.
Non accontentatevi della mediocrità, di vivacchiare stando comodi e seduti. Non fidatevi di chi vi distrae dalla vera ricchezza, che siete voi, dicendovi che la vita è bella solo se si hanno molte cose. Diffidate di chi vuol farvi credere che valete quanto mascherate da forti, come gli eroi del film, o quando portate abiti all'ultima moda. La vostra felicità non ha prezzo e non si commercia, non è un'app che si scarica sul telefonino, nemmeno la versione più aggiornata potrà aiutarvi a diventare liberi e grandi nell'amore.
The fact that everybody was welcome and up close, and he took time after Mass to greet many people. He welcomed kids up to send out to the mission field. He does that. I think that he inspires the youth.
It was amazing to see him because obviously we'd seen like pictures of him, but to see him like in person and have like a real connection with him was definitely special.
And during this Holy Year of Mercy, the adolescents who throughout the weekend went to confession, Mass, and walked through the holy doors of St. Peter's Basilica received a plenary indulgence. But that's not all they received. Rome Reports has more on an extra gift that was given to participants at the conclusion of the weekend.
In addition to the plenary indulgence, they will also receive this film in 15 languages on the life of Jesus. It is this DVD produced by the Jesus Film Project.
We believe everyone should have an opportunity to see Jesus speaking to them in their own language, in the same language their mother spoke to them when they were sitting on their mother's lap, so that they can sense God's love for them personally.
Tener el Evangelio.
To have the gospel text not only written or read, but seen on a screen allows people to understand Jesus in a very different way. This DVD displays the gospel. Ricardo Grozona chairs the Ramone Pani Foundation, an association of lay people who look for creative ways to propose the faith with modern language. Their agreement with the Jesus Film Project was finalized, so thousands of young people would receive this gift this weekend.
Nosotros queremos hacer hincapié
We want to stress that the gospel must be transformed into a language that people understand.
All stories. Young people love stories. They learn better from stories than from anything else. So by making the story parts of the New Testament available, we feel that young people will engage with God in a fresh way.
And finally in the news, during a recent summit in Atlanta, nearly 40 heads of Christian churches and church-related organizations in the U.S. and the Holy Land adopted a document in hopes of working for peace. The text is called Pursuing Peace and Strengthening Presence, the Atlanta Summit of Churches in the USA and the Holy Land. In it, the leaders agree that working toward a just and lasting solution to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict would also promote peace in the Middle East region in general. It said that the two-state solution, built on the basis of international resolutions in which both Israelis and Palestinians can live in neighborly relations and at peace, must be viably politically, geographically, economically, and socially. It concluded that Christian churches have a responsibility to work to bring the chronic conflict in the Middle East to a just peace, and that more effective advocacy is needed in the United States. The church leaders said they would urge the U.S. administration to adopt balanced and just positions that would pave the way for a solution of the conflict. Catholic participants in the summit included Latin Patriarch Fuad Tual of Jerusalem and Bishop Oscar Cantu of La Cruces, New Mexico. Well, that is all the information we have for you this time. I'm Kevin Nelson. Don't forget, you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV network.